Welcome to City of Keene in Focus. Thanks so much for listening. So thanks so much for tuning in to our next episode of City of Keene in Focus. I am joined today by Deputy City Manager Andy Bohannon. Hi, Andy. How you doing?
Good morning, Asa.
So today we are going to talk about sort of a brief recap of what happened at City Council last night. We'll talk about there was a couple of public hearings that are meant to encourage more housing, which is awesome. And then we'll talk a little bit about the timeline for the downtown project. And I think there's a little bit of confusion. We're going to talk about the timeline for the downtown project, not the design, not any of the design elements, just the timeline of when the project is actually going to happen. So, with that real brief introduction, Andy, what do you think are 3 things that the public would be most interested to hear about from last night's City Council?
Certainly the 2 public hearings were fairly noted. I thought that they generated positive support from the members of the public who were attending last night. And it just goes to show how city staff has worked with the public related to these particular issues. They brought these back. This has been in their cycle. They've had conversations dating back several months, and they've gone through the process, and now they're here at the city council level. So they've gone through the planning board. They've gone through the joint planning board. They've done what they needed to do to bring these forward, and they're related to the minimum lot size that somebody can build upon, which is going to help development, kind of create a little bit more infill, especially when people are looking at the downtown area, what that might mean. We saw representatives from Keene Housing, and they were in support of it as well, because that means they'll be able to do a little bit more. The other one, they kind of go with each other, and that's the residential parking requirements and reducing that requirement. And we heard, oddly enough, that people were definitely in support of it, but we could have gone further, which is always fun, right? Because we heard them the first time, and the further we go, the more development it allows. So people, there was a great example provided by a gentleman who had a property that, because of the requirements that previously existed, wasn't allowed to build one more unit. Had the requirements been what they are being proposed, they would have been able to add one more unit, and they might be able to. So that's going to help their organization add maybe 10, 12 more units that, takes their waiting list from 100 down to 85, which is fantastic. So those were good things that happened last night.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
It was really great to hear. I feel like with both of these public hearings, there's been a lot of public support. So it's really exciting to see these move along. There was one question as I was watching the council meeting last night, which I'm glad got clarified. So with the parking, the minimum I'm going to get this wrong, but the proposed minimum required parking is 0.9 spaces per unit.
Correct.
And I remember watching that, and I said, 0.9, what does that mean? Is that like little itty-bitty cars or what?
Yeah.
But Mary Brunner, our senior planner, did a really good job of explaining that while the 0.9 basically means one parking spot for smaller projects, that 0.9 can really add up for bigger projects.
Exactly. I think that's important because I when I first read it, I was like, 0.9, that's an odd number to come up with. But as Mary explained, who did an excellent job working with everybody to get to this point, we realized that the larger projects, this definitely helps because they may have a 30-unit building. Not as many people may have vehicles, and this is just one way to help them fill that void. So this is good.
And hello, Mary. I've invited Mary Brunner here, our senior planner, to actually talk about this topic, and she's joining us now. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Asa.
So we're talking about the public hearings last night, and we're talking about how there was a lot of public support.
I know. I was really heartened to see all the people that came out and spoke for both of these proposed changes. And with the parking, it was interesting to me. This is a big change that we're proposing. I know it's coming from, the state changed their rules, and so now we have to change our rules, and that was kind of the main impetus for this. But it's a big change, and people are apparently totally on board with it, which is great. And we're actually being pushed to go even further, which is definitely something that I think we should have more conversations with the community on.
Is there anything that you would like to add to that? We did sort of a high-level overview. Is there anything that's a little bit deeper that you feel like people should know?
The proposed change to the lot sizes is for 3 of our zoning districts that have something called a density factor. And so basically, if you're proposing a residential use that has more than 1 unit, each unit after the first requires an additional lot area. And not all of our districts have that. So, for example, our low density and rural districts don't have that density factor, but some of them do. And that can create a really big barrier for someone, especially for an internal conversion. If they're taking an existing house that's too big for them now and they want to split it into 2 units or 3 units, why not? I mean, why do they need to have some arbitrary amount of land area added to their lot just to do an internal conversion? So this has been a barrier for some really easy, quick infill developments that could be happening. And so we're looking to remove that barrier. I guess one of the little more detailed pieces of this ordinance would be that specifically for the downtown transition district, which is what our old office district was, the committee wanted to make sure that these new developments, if they do come in, are in keeping with the historic character of the neighborhood. So we did make a tweak to the ordinance to create an A version to make sure that any additional units that get added after this passes would be going through review with the Historic District Commission.
Great. That's awesome. These are really exciting changes. One of the gentlemen last night alluded to this, that recently the city of Keene was awarded the Housing Champions designation, and he was like, this is just another example of why that's really well deserved. So is there more that you want to add about these public hearings that you think people should know?
Yeah, so the next steps for these public hearings, I believe there is still time if somebody wanted to submit comments or thoughts on either of these, I believe through Tuesday next week. You can submit written comments, and then the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee will be discussing this. There won't be an opportunity for public comment at the PLD meeting. So again, if you want to provide comment on this, submitting a written comment by Tuesday is your way to go. But then the PLD will be discussing it, and then it will go back to City Council for a final vote. And then at that point in time, it would go into effect. If you have any questions about them, feel free to give us a call. We're up on the 4th floor of City Hall.
Great. And just to clarify, that's Tuesday, January 21st. So thanks so much for that information, Mary. So what else do you think people would be interested in hearing about from council last night?
Well, there was a little discussion related to the downtown project.
Just a little discussion.
And so we had, basically we had the final vote related to moving it forward, which went ahead 11-4. And this was to approve the downtown project. And so the way it was worded was that we will go out to bid in the fall, which will be probably sometime, I think, late August, September timeframe, and then the project will start next spring.
Wow. And they approved that timeline, correct?
They approved that timeline. In addition, I know city staff has, we've been working on the RAISE grant, which has to be submitted by the end of January. And so now with that passing last night, we'll begin to collect some of the additional documents that we need from congressional support. But essentially, the document is ready to go. And so I think city staff was well prepared in relation to the vote, and we'll begin to move forward.
There was a really robust conversation last night weighing the pros and cons of waiting a little bit longer or getting shovels in the dirt a little bit sooner. And I think the counselors all did a really good job of considering, the impacts of waiting and construction costs potentially going up, but also having another opportunity to apply for the RAISE grant, also the impacts on business owners downtown and giving them a little more time to prepare. So yeah, I did not envy having to make that decision. That was a tough decision.
You could see it on some of the counselors as well, that they were definitely still trying to figure out which way they were going to vote. And, I thought some of them made very good points, and on both sides, it goes back, and I think about this a lot, that, when we work for local government, sometimes things take a while.
Sure.
And in this particular case, we had to churn the butter a little bit, right? This has been going for a while.
Yeah.
And we were kind of ready to make this decision back in November. And, one of the councilors wanted to hit pause. And so that happened. And then it went back to the FOP committee, where a lot of the downtown businesses really said, can we just hold like 1 year? We're just recovering from COVID, and city staff worked with city council, and we made this happen. So there's a delay, and I think that's definitely the right choice. I know the city manager did a lot of work to make that happen, and so overall, I think it's going to benefit the downtown businesses. The residents will be able to be prepared a little bit more. And the other piece is, some of our downtown events are going to be able to happen. And I think that was one of the things that happened last night as well, was the 30th celebration of the Jumanji filming that was in downtown Keene was scheduled for April. And because of the delay, they got back to their original time frame in June. June 20th and 21st and 22nd, I believe, is their event. And that's just going to be exciting. It's going to add one more thing to our downtown, and that may not have been able to happen with the construction. This does provide a lot of different opportunities, and we can work with different businesses related to storefronts. So this is all positive.
And as you say, Jumanji can happen
Yes.
when it wanted to, which is really exciting. That'll be a really fun weekend. I hear rumors that there's going to be a stampede through town, so that'll be really fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. This is something that basically the Greater Monadnock Collaborative have kind of thought about, and I remember when Jumanji was being filmed
you
in
really?
Keene. I
Oh,
was
cool.
in college at the time, and coming down and watching it getting filmed in Central Square was really fun. It was a big deal for Keene to get
Yeah.
chosen. That little scene that you see on the movie for maybe a minute or two, that was a nationwide search, and most of those scenes, as we know, communities out west or down south get, but little old Keene, New Hampshire got that little scene in that movie to be famous. So
I love that.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, and for folks that may be tuning in from outside of Keene, you can still see there's a beautiful mural on the corner of West Street and Central Square of the Paris Shoes logo. If you ever come through Keene, check that out. It's super cool. Yeah.
One of the other things related just to this event, which I think is really kind of shows what Keene is all about, right? Robin Williams was a big star in that movie, and so many stories about him just being so personable while he was here, and then tragically he passed away. And so some of our efforts with this 30th anniversary are going to be around mental health awareness.
I love that.
And to make sure that people are aware of that. And we're proud that we're doing that in honor of him and the various things that he supported. So, yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Is there anything else from council that you feel like is important for people to know about?
No, I think there's, watch the council, listen to the news, check in with city staff about different projects that happen. And, I think there was a lot of good debate last night, a lot of business happens at the committee levels. So that's where everything happens. And then it gets on that quick vote here at the council level. So those were the big things. And those are some pretty big things.
They were big, yeah.
And one of the other pieces that I think is going to be interesting is, so we have 19 committees within the city that range from the planning board to the historic commission to Asheville River Park Advisory Board, Human Rights Committee, and one of our counselors, suggested that those committees come back with some reports. So that request is going to happen. If that is something that the committee wants to do and report out, then they have the opportunity to kind of share at a different level. And, for some that's really good, and others may be like, well, there's not a lot of business that they necessarily take care of, but there are a lot of interesting things that happen at that committee level. So it'll be interesting to see how these reports play out in the years to come.
Yeah. I think there's so much that happens behind the scenes that the public doesn't really know about. And so this is such a good opportunity for visibility and for these committees to one of the counselors said brag, I think sort of jokingly last night, but sort of brag about all the good work that they get to do. So,
and they do a lot of good work. As somebody who is connected with the Human Rights Committee that's another event that's happening.
Oh, right.
On Monday, January 20th. At 5 o'clock at the library, the Human Rights Committee is putting on just an opportunity. They've engaged a lot of elementary school kids, and so they're going to be doing some performance, some readings, and so I think that's a great opportunity to celebrate the holiday with like-minded individuals who want to celebrate human rights.
Yeah. One tiny thing that I feel like I want to mention, I'm a little biased on this, but one tiny thing from last night, and you mentioned during your manager's comments, was over the summer we held community night, and during community night we held a naming contest for the airport snowblower.
Yes, that's exciting. It was. I was waiting for that announcement, so I was pleased to give it.
Yes, and so the little boy who won, his name is Walter. He named the airport snowblower Sasquatch, which I just love. I think that's just a perfect name. And actually, yesterday, it was great timing. Yesterday, before City Council, I got the opportunity to go meet Walter and his family, and we went over to the airport. And he got to take a ride in the snowblower.
Oh, how fun.
I know. We gave him a little Sasquatch toy. And we took some pictures with him. And the snowblower has a new decal on the side of it that says Sasquatch in sort of
awesome.
scary letters.
That's
so I'm a little biased. I feel like that needs to be mentioned just because I had that opportunity to go meet Walter and his family.
But the airport staff had fun with that, too.
Oh, they had so much fun.
Yeah. If anybody ever gets a chance to see the sweeper out on, or the
so
snowblower
cool.
out on the, it is so cool.
It's so cool.
I know it's snowing out, but go down and check it out because it's really, that thing can throw snow like amazing. It's so cool.
This thing is a behemoth of a machine. It's huge. And Ben, who is the airport facilities manager, I'm going to get his title wrong, but he takes care of all of the equipment at the airport, and I'm sure he would be happy to show you the snowblower and other equipment.
Well, you'll get to be able to see it, right, at the Ice and Snow Festival.
That's right.
Right? So that's happening February 1st and 2nd in downtown. So that'll be parked right down at Railroad Square. So come check it out because if you haven't been, there's going to be more sculptures this year. Last year, we estimated about 10,000 people came to the event.
Wow.
And so we hope that more come this year. It's a great opportunity. A lot of our businesses were saying they had anywhere between 30 and 300% increase in sales for the month of February because of that event. So just the economic impact of the things that we do in our downtown, the little events can go a long way for a small business. But the Ice and Snow Fest has been around for a long time, and it's such a cool event just to walk down, see them sculpt in the ice, take some pictures, have a lot of conversation, grab some hot chocolate somewhere, and it's a great afternoon to be in the city of Keene.
And you get to meet Sasquatch.
You did Sasquatch. It will be present. Not every day you can see Sasquatch.
That's right. Is there anything else that you want to talk about today?
The only piece that is wearing my former hat as Parks and Recreation Director, I would just say, the ice is open up at Robin Hood Park.
Great.
And we have a rink open at Wheelock Park as well. Up at Robin Hood, because it's a natural pond, we take the depth of the ice every day and want to make sure that the public understands that when we post thin ice, it means, it's not safe to go out. But the signs are down for now, and hopefully with this cold snap that we've had, the ice will be in really good shape. Crews are out there flooding it to improve the ice surface. So let that harden up and then go sharpen the skates and enjoy.
That's so fun. And I think it's supposed to be super cold this next week. I saw -3 one day, so That's good for ice skating.
Good for ice skating.
So I am pulling up my calendar here just for upcoming meetings. City Hall will be closed on Monday, January 20th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Jonathan Daniels Day. There will be an MSFI meeting on January 22nd. That's a Wednesday at 6 p.m. And then Thursday, the 23rd, there will be an FOP meeting. And then the next council meeting will actually be in February 6th at 7 p.m. So, is there anything else you want to talk about today before we wrap up?
No, I hope everybody gets a chance to enjoy the cold snap being outside in some of our winter recreational areas in our downtown. So, stay warm.
Yeah, stay warm for sure. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Thanks for listening to City of Keene in Focus. We'll see you next time.